Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this Friday's LinkedIn Live. And I'm delighted to welcome Paula from Polybloom Divorce and Separation Coaching to have a chat with us today. So thank you so much for joining us today, Paula.
That's okay. Thanks for having me, Louise.
Oh, it's going to be the reason I set these chats up. And what I love to hear about is not just about the person in the business, but a little bit about who's behind the business. What led them to set up the business that they're currently in. What is it that they love doing? Are there any twists and turns? Because one thing that I have found when I've been chatting to everyone, no matter how detailed a plan you might have, no matter how clear the vision, it's never a straight road. So it's always interesting to hear about this kind of twists and turns that life throws at us.
Yes.
So if anybody is listening live, do drop us a message in the comments, say hi and let us know where you're listening from. If you've got any questions as well for Paula, just drop them in the comments and we can address those live. Or if you want to just put them in afterwards, we can always come back and catch up with those later. So yeah, just ask away and we'll do our best to answer any questions that you might have. So enough about me talking, and hopefully the internet's going to work well today. We've had a few little problems. So if I do start looking like I'm gurning and have strange expressions. Well, it could be that I have a strange expression, or it could be that the internet's gone a bit squiffy. So just stay with us if that's okay. So I'm just going to hand over to Paula now, and what I'd really love to understand is kind of what led you to the job that you're doing today to set up the business that you have. If you could share a bit of insight, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, of course, Louise. Yes. So back in 2014, I was a happily married woman, mother to two daughters, and I was extremely proud of my family. And then, out of the blue, my life performed a U-turn, and my internal sat nav was screaming, recalculating. Because my husband of 28 years had been having affairs, and I emphasize with the S, for the entire time we were married. And what came to light was shocking. And so he changed to someone I didn't recognize at all. And I was confused, and I was unsure of my future. And the most painful or prominent emotion was fear. Fear of my future. Where would I be living? How much money would I have? My daughters fortunately were in their early 20s, so it wasn't a case of co-parenting and anything like that. So I was lucky in that respect. But it's pretty scary, and I learned very quickly that it's not about having someone being hung, drawn, and quartered for their behavior when you go through the legal system. It's about being head savvy, not headstrong.
Right.
Morality and fair play isn't brought into it. It's just not one of those things that featured, which is a very, very hard lesson to understand at the very beginning. So after going through the dark period of my life, very dark time, I came out the other side, and I decided to flip the negative into more positive. And I thought, how can I help other people going through this? I actually saw a therapist, lovely, really, 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 very, very good, but I didn't have any strategies or tools or techniques to help me move forward. I'd see the therapist, would have the heart to heart, but I'd drive away feeling better for maybe that evening, but I still had all the problems in front of me.
Yeah.
So it was just dealing with the story of the divorce, understanding the characteristics or personality of the person that I'd been married to for such a long time, and how, as I say, he metamorphosed into someone I didn't recognize. And it was coping with that, understanding that, but at the same time having to speak to a family law lawyer and make really important decisions when you're really not in the right headspace.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I do. That's how I help my clients. I signpost them to the right people, and we brainstorm things together. I ask empowering questions, so they dig a bit deeper, and that we look at, what is it they want for their future? What is the bigger picture for them? And it's moving them away from pain and towards pleasure. And funny enough, this week I gave a presentation to a firm of family lawyers, and I used an analogy of a storm. And my clients are in the middle of a thunderstorm, and it's how they cope with all the emotions whilst going through that thunderstorm. So I hold the umbrella. I have because the wind is the fear, the rain is their grief, and the lightning is their anger. And I want to move them through the storm and back out into the sunshine, to bathe in the next exciting chapter of their life. So I hold the umbrella so they can run out, deal with the solicitors, then come back to me holding the umbrella. That's their safe space where they can offload, and just have a better understanding of what's going on for them emotionally.
Wow, that's I love that analogy of the storm, because that does describe so clearly all the emotions that are going on there, and having you as that that safe space, that protected space to come back to when you're dealing with such turmoil. I can imagine that's so valuable to your clients. I mean, from what you've said, it doesn't sound like divorce and separation coach was kind of in your life plan. It was something that clearly happened. If we rewind before that, what were what was it that you were did you have a business before? Were you employed, or had you any sort of thoughts about what it was that you were doing at that time? I'm just intrigued to really understand kind of the themes that come through people's lives and what leads them to set up their own business.
That's really important, actually. I mean, it's a good question, because that I believe that what I did before sort of gave me the courage and strength and confidence to do what I'm doing now. So I was a learning mentor in a primary school.
Right.
So I it was like pastoral care in a sense, and I would help children with special educational needs, and those children who were unhappy, because happy children are great learners. And the head teacher that I worked for, she was really keen on making sure that all the children in the school had that support. And a lot of the children that I spoke to were unhappy because of their home lives, and 9 out of 10 times it was because their parents were arguing, or they'd split up and they'd gone through divorce, and the children were being pushed from pillar to post. I had one little boy, when I worked with him, he drew a picture for me of 2 cars, and he was in one car with his siblings, but it was mum's car, and the other drawing was him in his dad's car. So it was just, that's what came to light. He was just tired of going between 2 places.
Yeah, of course.
And he also didn't like his father's new partner. And so when I was carrying out my role as a learning mentor, we'd have a child psychiatrist come into the school, and she wouldn't know the children, but she'd come to talk to me to get an insight as to what was the stumbling blocks. And she said to me one day, she said, "You're so insightful." And I said, "Oh, am I? Why am I insightful? I thought everyone would be, know these things."
Yeah.
And she said, "No, they don't pick up." So, and also the teachers would say the same, and that I had a lot of patience. So all these qualities led me to understand that not everybody can do that job. Not everybody is insightful.
Mhm.
So if I'm insightful with children, hopefully I'm insightful with adults too.
Yeah.
And through my training to be an accredited coach through the Divorce Coaching Academy, it's the first diploma in the UK that is externally accredited, which is extremely important to me, because otherwise it's like taking your driving test with your driving instructor, not the examiner.
Yes. Yeah.
So having that accreditation, it's like gold standard, was great. And in the process, I began to appreciate that I do have a certain skill that not all people have.
It is so interesting when it's something that comes so naturally to you. There are so many people who just take their skills for granted and use that phrase, well, I thought everybody was like that. I thought everyone could do that. And that's something that I find so often with the people that I work with, that they just, it's so natural to them, and they've been doing it for such a long time, that there are so many skills that they just totally take for granted.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you need to step out of the box,
Mm-hmm.
to appreciate the skills that you do have. And definitely with the through the coaching academy, I learned a lot about myself.
Yes, I think you do, don't you? That sort of training is as much about understanding yourself as then being able to support other people. Absolutely.
Yes,
yeah. And you wrote a book as well. You're also a children's author as well. Did you do
Yes.
that when you was how did that come about?
Well, as I say, when I was a learning mentor, I noticed that there wasn't a lot of literature in the school library that were accessible to children, so they could just go and pick up a book and just read about divorce. Because as adults, we use words, we use language that children they don't identify with, they don't understand. So you say, brandish the word marriage, divorce. Do they actually know what that is? And so I thought it would be really good to have a colourful activity book with a nice story behind it for 4 to 11-year-olds, where they can understand their emotions, to know that actually it's not their fault that mummy and daddy have split up, because a lot of children will think it's, down to them because they didn't do their homework, because mummy and daddy had a row because they didn't do their homework, or they didn't tidy their toys away. They begin to think that it's maybe their fault. And also how they can internalize their anger and how it comes out in other ways, maybe being naughty at school, or they start wetting the bed. It's just things that how children, how the stress can manifest itself in their lives. And unfortunately, when the adults are going through such a traumatic time themselves emotionally, they don't really see how their children are suffering.
Yes. Yeah. And like you said, if some of this is coming out at school as well, I suppose, is that, not being aware of the change of behaviour in their children, or maybe the kids are trying to mask it as well at home too. So I guess it's such a complicated situation, isn't it?
It is, and it is about having self-awareness, and that it's such an important quality to be very self-aware. And that, again, through the coaching, is what I encourage my clients to be introspective, dig a bit deeper, find their self-worth and their value, because a lot of the time that's all been obliterated due to the circumstances around the divorce.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. I think it's, like I said, when you do go back into, things you were interested in way back, years ago, or previous roles, there's generally some sort of common thread that runs through them, and certainly there's a common thread running through the way that you are working with the kids as well, to how you work today. And so say I would quite like to have a little delve back into the past and find out what it was that you were doing. And the other question I wanted to ask was around Polly Bloom. Where did that name come from? I'd love to know about the names behind businesses as well.
Well, you know, at the time I still had my married name and I didn't want that associated to my business. But I also felt that my maiden name is a bit clunky and didn't sort of roll off the tongue. And before I went through my divorce, people would always say, "You're always smiling, Paula. You know, you're always happy and smiling." I lost that spark and smile. I felt like I wilted. I'd withered and wilted. So like a flower will wither and wilt, and then you nurture it and it starts to bloom again.
Oh, right. Lovely.
But also it is a mnemonic, because the B is to believe in yourself. The L is to love yourself, learn to love yourself again, to be open-minded, optimistic, and move forward.
Oh, amazing. So I love that.
Not to stay stuck, to move your life forward. And that's what a coach does, encourages his clients to move to the next stage.
I love that.
And as for the Polly, well, you know, everyone likes a cup of tea, and it's known to be very mentally soothing. And so Polly, put the kettle on.
Of course, yeah.
We'll all have tea. There is method in my madness.
Yeah, it's always finding out why, because you know some names are very obvious, but that is fantastic, and I love that you're really bringing the essence of what you do into the bloom and into the whole of all your business. So I think that's amazing that you've got that right there at the heart of your business.
I think, you know, my clients do say to me that, you know, that it's positive energy that I, you know, give out. And the thing is, I've been there, so I know how my clients are feeling. And I know that, you know, they just want to hide under the duvet and can't face the copious amounts of emails and the dealing with their ex-spouse, co-parenting, you know, all the arrangements that have to be put into place, and it takes over your life. But it's important that, yes, you have to go through the process, but you will come out the other side.
Yes.
And you will look back on this, and it's a huge learning curve, but it's a really good one, because you realize, you know, a lot about yourself, and you grow, you become, you as a person, you evolve, you're much stronger.
You
bloom, yes, and you definitely will. Although people don't feel like it, I get a lot of my clients, men and women, who look sunken and you know, bereft. And then over the weeks, you can just see the confidence starts to grow again, and they start to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, thank you for sharing that as well, because I love the story behind that. I always love to find out about the names behind businesses, because there's often a real you know, a real story, and there's real sort of heart in that as well. So that's amazing. Thank you. So if you go back to, you know, you obviously been through a horrendous time, you went through the training, and then you decided, actually, I do want to set up my business. Can you talk a little bit about that process, how that went, if there's any learnings that you could perhaps think out about, you could share from that time?
Oh, there's so much. You know, I was setting up my business during COVID, and I don't know if I should really admit this, but I actually quite enjoyed COVID, because I had a sense of purpose every day. Right. I was getting up, and I was working on my completing my course. I was also working on my website. I didn't realize that with a business, especially this day and age, that, you know, social media is so important. So before my business, I was not really bothered about social media. I could take it or leave it. I certainly didn't have an Instagram account. However, now, I have, I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, and Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, something I never thought I'd do. But I realise how important it is to be able to use it as a platform to get your message across. And because of that, I've been on a lot of courses. I've written so many articles for my business. Again, the book. And I, as a person, I've done so much after coming out the other side of my divorce that for me, it's been life-changing and in such a positive way. And the lesson I have learned is, is not to be afraid and to step outside your comfort zone. It's so easy to say no. No, I won't do that.
Yeah.
Because that's a bit scary.
Yeah. Or when the time is right, and when such and such happens, then I'll make this change.
Yes.
There's always a reason to defer and delay, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, you can make excuses. So now I just say yes and worry about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you don't open up doors. If you stay, I always say to my clients, actually, you imagine that you're in a hallway and there's 6 doors in front of you. And the only way to move out of the hallway is to go through one of those doors. However, you don't know what's behind the door.
Yes.
But unless you open it, you're going to stay stuck in that hallway.
Yeah.
And that's the way I think about things now. And also I don't know why this book gravitated towards me, or I think somebody at work recommended it, but it was a book by Susan Jeffers called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
And I read that early days going through my divorce. And she says about you can handle it. So you write it on Post-it notes. And so when you wake up in the morning, you just see that on your bathroom mirror and you go, yeah, I can handle this. I can handle it. And I kept telling myself that. So when I had a sticky situation or tricky situation and I was nervous, ringing someone up in fear of looking stupid because they didn't have the right information, etc., I'd say to myself, you can handle it, Paula. And believe it or not, it worked. It certainly worked for me because I coped because of having that in my head.
Yes.
And since then, I've used it in so many other areas of my life.
Yeah, it's often that first step. It's that fear of taking that step that holds everyone back, isn't it? And I was reading a newsletter. I think it was a James Clear one, and he was just talking about, be prepared to be. Are you prepared to be uncomfortable for just a few minutes? And it's kind of like, whether that's picking up the phone, whether that's, starting out at the gym, whether that's pushing yourself to write something or do something different. It's, are you prepared to just accept a few minutes of discomfort, and then it all rolls on from there. But if you can just get over those first few minutes, generally it's not as bad as you think it is. It's something that you just make bigger and bigger in your mind, and you end up with a great big monster when it really wasn't in the first place. But
yes, it's so true.
Yeah, and it's it is interesting seeing what stops people moving forward. But in terms of the future, then where do you see the where Polly Bloom, where's Polly Bloom headed?
Well, I've got I've got ideas. I think my passion is to help people. My passion is to see them move to a better place and see that that they don't need to stay stuck if they just if they change their mindset about how they see themselves and things. So I'd love to run retreats. I also run a group of for women every 2 weeks who have been my clients who've got most are out the other side. There's a few still in the thick of it, but And by having that camaraderie, by joining up with other women, they don't feel so alone.
Yes.
And I don't want to single out, women. I do help men, but men are they don't open up in the way that women do.
No.
So if any men want me to run a group where they want to chat about what's happened to them, if they've been in a relationship with a toxic partner and they need to understand a few things, then I'm willing to host a group for gentlemen as well. But that's at the moment, it's running a retreat and building my groups to support people.
And any more books on the horizon?
Yes, I have actually thought about another book.
Yeah.
It would be nice to speak to teenage and children in their late teens who maybe can talk about the effects it's had on them and their relationships. Also, I'm writing a book about my journey would be another one, but it all takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Louise?
absolutely. Absolutely, you can't do everything at once.
No. It's ideas that may or may not come to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. And is the book available? The current book is available. Can you get that on Amazon?
Yes,
or where?
You can. It's on Amazon. I think you can get it on eBay as well. And it's called Keep on Swimming Freddie.
Okay.
Because it's about a family of tropical fish.
Okay. Oh, fish, even better. Really close to my heart. And of course, it's Fishy Friday today, so that's very topical.
Well, one of the other things I say is that you got a choice: you sink or swim. And in my youth, I used to be a swimmer. I used to swim competitively, so I'm definitely the swimmer.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to make me, sink to the bottom.
Excellent. Oh, good to hear that. And that you're like you was talking about your sense of purpose and your sense of passion, and doing what you love doing and helping people is right at the heart of your business and what you do, and that comes through in when you're talking about it, and it comes through every time we've met as well. That real passion for helping others in difficult situations. So it's been really lovely just to understand a little bit more about you, understand a little bit more about what led you to do what you do today. So we've just got a couple of minutes left, and could you just remind us what Bloom stands for, because I thought that was fantastic.
So Bloom is to believe in yourself, learn to love yourself again, to be open-minded, optimistic, and move forward to the next exciting chapter of your life.
Wonderful. Well, what better way to finish our conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today and just sharing your story and your passion. If anyone has any questions, please do drop them into the post afterwards. If you're listening on replay, I'd really love to hear your thoughts, and obviously we can come back and address those. Or if you want to message Paula in a direct message or privately, I'm sure that they can reach you on LinkedIn. Yes. And I'll also drop some links into the post as well, so people know where to find you. Put your website and links there. So if anyone wants to reach out to Paula and chat to her, then I'm sure she'd be very, very helpful. And if there's any men out there, I liked that offer as well. If you're wanting, to have a facilitator and to have a group to talk about the difficulties, then Paula's your lady. All right. Well, I'm going to say thank you again. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you've had a really good week. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Take care. Bye for now.
Thanks, Louise. Thank you.